Hey guys, what if I told you I got a hold of the original lawsuit? Yes, the original lawsuit filed 9/13/2021. And from this lawsuit, we can answer one question. From the beginning of the lawsuit, were there any claims about involving allegations of cheating, video games, or has this been about Apollo Legend the entire time? From the very beginning until the very end. So we saw some documents and they were not lawsuits. How do I know this is a lawsuit? Well, it's got some numbers, it's got a receipt number, it's got fee paid, it's got initials, it's got stamps, right? And this one was filed September 13th, 2021. This would look completely differently if you are a defendant when you receive this than a demand letter. In fact, we've actually looked at the demand legal letters that Karl was sent by Billy Jobst, and you look at how they're formatted, you look at all the stamps on them, and yeah, this is a lawsuit. This is clearly a lawsuit, and in fact, it is a lawsuit which begins, right? It is filed in the Carnes registry, and then it was later moved to Brisbane. So it's the same lawsuit. There is indeed one lawsuit, not two. You can see the registrar, you can see the claim, the district court registry claims got double stamped that thing, right? You can see the law firm at the time. Take notice that you are being sued by the plaintiff in court. Again, this is really obvious language. You are being sued, not we will sue you. So the excuse that Karl would not know the difference between a threat of a lawsuit and a lawsuit is null and void, in my opinion, because this clearly is something very, very different than the first demand letters or legal letters that Karl received. This is being sent from the court, right? On or about 26 May 2020, and continuing thereafter, the defendant published of and concerning the plaintiff a video entitled Biggest Con Man in Video Game History Strikes Again, containing the following. He also sued up YouTube's Apollo Legend for $1 million. I haven't spoken about this publicly, but this lawsuit ultimately ended with Apollo giving in and settling with Mitchell. He was forced to remove all his videos about Mitchell cheating and paid him a large sum of money. This left him deeply in debt, which required him to find extra work, but with his ongoing health issues, this was all too much of a burden, and ultimately he took his own life. Not that Billy Mitchell would ever care. Ben Smith, otherwise known as Benjamin Q. Smith, identified in the video as being the person referred to therein as Apollo Legend. On or about June 5th, 2021, the defendant removed the words set out in paragraph 3 in the statement of the claim from his video, entitled Biggest Con Man in Video Game History Strikes Again, save the words in the first and last sentences, namely the words, he also sued YouTube's Apollo Legend for $1 million, and the lawsuit against Apollo Legend was just as frivolous as the rest, and Apollo definitely would have won in court, but again, he was extremely ill and couldn't handle the ongoing stress. On or about 11 June 2021 and continuing thereafter, the defendant republished concerning the plaintiff the words set out in paragraph 4 here in his videos entitled Biggest Con Man in Video Game History Strikes Again. The words in this ordinary and natural meaning meant and were understood to mean the plaintiff required Ben Smith to pay him a large amount of money to settle his defamation claim, which caused Ben Smith to go into considerable debt and take on extra work to survive. A major contributing factor in Ben Smith's decision to take his own life was plaintiff's requirement that he paid the plaintiff a large sum of money to settle the defamation claims. So this is the claims. This is what I've been looking for all this time. What were the original claims? Right? We've been looking for this document, and I say we, it's a small group of us. It's just basically two of us, right? We've been looking for this small document for a long time, and we just cannot find it until today. Statement of claim. This claim in this proceeding is made in reliance of the following fact. The plaintiff is and was at relevant times. This is Billy Mitchell, of course. I think at the end of the day, every single piece of court document, because it's already gone to verdict, after appeals, I believe all of it's just going to be released to the public, and we will see exactly what happened in this case. A lot of this is very confusing, and it's meant to be confusing. There's a specific participant, Karl Jobst, who made this far more confusing than this ever had to be. He could have just said in his GoFundMe, this is about Apollo Legend. The first lawsuit was about Apollo Legend. Now, the existence of a second lawsuit, I have emailed the court. I haven't received, obviously it's only been a day, but I suggest you guys email the court. Yeah, so in the previous video, I have the contact for the court, because maybe there's a malfunction in how the web, but when I search the court system, I only see one lawsuit, and this is the one lawsuit. This is the one lawsuit. Again, there's no doubt in anyone's mind. It's got these stamps, and it looks completely different from the first two legal demand letters we saw from Billy Mitchell, right? It literally could not be more different in terms of how it's written, in terms of the stamps and the case number, and the fact that there is a court associated with this filing. There is a fee paid, right? Right on the top. I don't think somebody as smart as Karl would be confused whether or not a demand letter is an actual lawsuit when he receives this lawsuit. Okay, so you must serve a sealed copy of it at the plaintiff's address for service shown in this claim as soon as possible. This is the address. If you assert that the court does not have jurisdiction in this matter or assert any irregularities, you must file a conditional notice of intent to defend and Form 7 under Rule 144 and apply. Again, you have the court. I mean, it's not something where you would not know that you're being sued. You clearly would see this as a lawsuit because that is what it is. But a demand letter, a legal letter, a cease and desist letter will not have statements like this that the court. So this is Billy Mitchell's initial lawyers. I believe he might have changed lawyers later on. And then this is Karl Jobst, right? And this is solicitor for the plaintiff. Because again, at this point in time, Karl does not have a lawyer. This is the very beginning. To understand and to kind of get a fresh take on things, we have to go to the beginning. From this point on, there are multiple, probably 100 plus legal documents, and then the verdict, right, which is the main legal document. But to understand how we got to the verdict, we have to look at all 100 of them. That's what we have done in the CoffeeZilla and Logan Paul case. Once I can get a hold of these documents, I will make them public as well. I think they're already public. I think it's just hard to find, right? The publication and republication were constituted or evidenced by or to be inferred or implied from the publication being publicly accessible and amendable to download, further or alternatively by defendant's failure from in or around June 2021 to remove or expunge to prevent general public access to the publication. So this was on Twitter. At Billy Mitchell claims he will sue me for saying Apollo Legend paid him money. I removed that portion from my video, not because it is wrong, but because this isn't the issue I want to go to court with. I'd rather he sue me over his fake Donkey Kong scores. At the date of this pleading, the tweet had 111 retweets and 2.2k likes. Injury and hurt by reason of the publication of words and imputations that plaintiff has been injured in his personal and professional reputation, in that plaintiff apprehends that he has since the date of publication and will continue to be greatly shunned and avoided by his peers, in that plaintiff has suffered hurt, embarrassment, and a perception of ridicule shown generally by his peers. Makes sense, right? I mean, aggravated circumstances. Here is where we have aggravated circumstances. the plaintiff claims damages to vindicate his reputation. It's very interesting. Each of the imputations are false because the settlement of the legal claim between plaintiff and Ben Smith did not require Smith to pay any money to resolve the claim, nor did the settlement terms contribute to Mr. Smith taking his own life. I'm reading this as there are a few different alternatives, but I'm reading this as the initial lawsuit filed September 9th, 2021. This is the OG lawsuit. This is the original lawsuit. This is the original reason that Billy Mitchell sued. September 13th, 2021. September 13th, 2021 is 100% due to Apollo Legend. Right? It's about a video where the focus is on what has been said about Apollo Legend, specifically those two items, right? Malice or unjustifiable or improper conduct of defendant having published the defamatory matter with reckless indifference manifest by her failure to make any proper pre-publication inquiry as to true position. The extravagant and sensationalized content of the imputations, the defendant's evident intent to diminish the credibility and standing of the plaintiff. So this is aggravated. The amount of general damages claimed is an amount sufficient to ensure that defamation having spread along the grapevine. So this is a term that the judge really focused on, the grapevine, right? Being apt to emerge from its working place in some future date is an amount sufficient to convince a person to whom the publication was made of the baselessness of the allegations. The plaintiff claims the following relief: damages for defamation of $400,000, aggravated damage of $50,000, interest thereon pursuant to Section 58 of the Civil Proceedings Act 2001, and cost. Again, he got $300,000 of the $400,000. He got $50,000 of the $50,000 for aggravated damages, and then he got interest along with it, right? And he got cost. Let me repeat this again. Out of the 4 items that he wanted Billy Mitchell sued to receive, he received them all, and with the exception of item 1, right? He received $300,000 of item 1. He received the maximal he could possibly receive, including the cost for his own lawyers. All right, so here we have a scenario. Is there a scenario that Karl can get out of this? Yes, if there is indeed a second lawsuit, which you yourself can go online, check the website, and find what I saw where there is only this lawsuit. This lawsuit looks like online that it's the same lawsuit. It looks like there's 2 different lawsuits, but that wasn't the case. This is the only one lawsuit that existed at that time. Could there be another lawsuit later regarding cheating allegations? Yes, but it's very unlikely because people, and myself assuming that this should have been about cheating in some capacity, and then Apollo Legend came by, and then what happened was that was a better claim. That was a better imputation. So why not drop the cheating and go after the ones for Apollo Legend? That's what I have based my entire... You can look at it. I've been very neutral to Karl, if not leaning in his direction, because I was told and I believed and I looked at everything. That was what happened until the fateful day that Billy Mitchell IV, or who I believe to be Billy Mitchell IV after investigation, told me, no, that's not true. My father filed and served the one lawsuit onto Karl. Again, don't take my word for it. You guys can go search the court system yourself. And if you guys find a second case, let me know, because I searched this morning and could not find a second case, nor was I able to find one in the afternoon, nor was I able to find one at nighttime. This is the type of thing that probably doesn't update frequently, if it does update. And it's also the type of thing that typically you don't see too many mistakes being made, i.e. omitted lawsuits. What I'm thinking happened here was that a lot of people got emotional. Sometimes it can feel like somebody's suing you with the legal demand letters and so on. But it's up to Karl Jobst, and Karl Jobst has criticized other people for this, to be very clear and transparent as to what is going on. I have showed you evidence that when this was filed, 9/13/2021, that there was no cheating allegations. There was no, that this thing had been about Apollo Legend this entire time. And if that is the case, then Karl should be honest. Karl should be honest with his audience. He should be honest with the individuals, right, who support him, that, hey, guys, this is not about cheating. I wish it was about cheating, but it is about Apollo Legend. I'm not being sued because Billy Mitchell is offended that I called them a cheater, and then we can win this easily, right, supposedly, allegedly, and it's not the case. At the end of the day, and this is the end of the day, we've reached verdict. There might be appeal. You cannot double down from this because I'm just going to keep getting evidence. Like, it's a small band of us, very small, 2 of us, and we've been digging into this a lot. And let me just say this. Every piece of evidence I have to look at, I have to think about, I have to reason if this is logical, and we have to verify whether or not this piece of evidence would make sense. This is a pretty damning piece of evidence because it shows, unlike what many Karl fans believe, that the initial lawsuit, and this is the initial lawsuit, you can tell by the timestamp, that is multiple pages here, or multiple places, that yes, indeed, this has never been about cheating initially. Now, could it later become about cheating and imputation? Possibly, but that's why we're going to investigate. That's why we are going to get more documents. That's why we're going to make more videos. Because unless Karl straight up tells us that, hey, there's no second lawsuit, or Karl straight up tells us, hey, it was never about cheating, sorry guys, it was about Apollo Legend, we have to continue to dig. We have to continue to look. But as of the start, this is the start of the lawsuit, not the demand letters. And like I said before, there's a clear difference. If you look at this document and you compare it to the demand letters, the legal letters, right, talking about Donkey Kong cheating, this is a total different beast, right? And you would even know by the stamps from the court, the system, that this is, well, they got stamps here. Even a kindergartner would be, oh, stamps, right? Even my 8-month-old would be, oh, stamps. I mean, she can't talk, but she knows that this thing is not the same as the other 2 things that were sent to Karl, which were not lawsuits, by the way. The question really becomes, did Karl mislead by omission, by not talking about Apollo Legend in the case? Now, people will say, oh, well, Karl, his lawyers probably told him not to. I got a tweet from Karl, or not a tweet, a Discord message from Karl saying, F the lawyers. All right. Yeah, it's very convenient, right? What do you guys think about this? Do you still want to cover it? I'm pretty exhausted. I'm tired. I've made multiple speech mistakes on this thing that I've immediately corrected. I'm just tired. I got baby brain, right? It's hard to keep going. It really is. But again, it's a small group of supporters out there battling the good fight for truth. We don't got no editing. We barely got screenshots. But my God, we have the legal documents. Anyway, if you like this video, please like the video to show me that you guys want to continue the video, because I am almost certain that Karl Jobst will try to destroy me. This is where it's coming. Because I have other stuff. And yeah. Anyway, bye guys.